Dear colleagues, dear partners, welcome to our today's meeting. Today is the 22nd of March, and it's time for a long-awaited meeting with Dr. Unitsky within our series of broadcasts that we've been traditionally having since the beginning of 2026. Let's check connectivity before Dr. Unitsky joins us. Please give me some feedback regarding the video and audio. Is everything okay with audio and video? Give me a score from 1 to 10. Okay, good. I see tens. I see even 1,000 from someone. Good. Well, in this case, friends, let me tell you that today we are going to have a very productive time, and we will learn quite interesting productive results within our optimization program of GTI, funding optimization, in order to scale up USC and bring it to the market and bring it to the commercialization of our project. So, Anatoli, welcome, and please join our meeting. Dr. Unitsky, you there? So, dear colleagues, let's wait for Dr. Unitsky to join us. I see more and more people join us, more and more partners join us on this Sunday. Yes, Dr. Unitsky, I can see you. So let's check the audio. Hello. It seems I don't have audio. Yes, you do. You do have, because I can hear you. Yes, we have the audio. I can hear you. Just give me a second. Colleagues, let's set up the connection with Dr. Unitsky. Let me join in here, colleagues, while we are setting everything up. Now it is the opportunity to invite as many people and guests as possible to today's meeting. We're going to have very important updates. So take the link and share it with your partners, investors, prospects, and people who might be interested in this project. Thank you. Okay, friends, let's check the geography. I see we have people from India, the Czech Republic, so let's do the geographical roll call while we have this opportunity. Okay, let me read it out. Uzbekistan, we have Vietnam, Russia, Belarus, Japan, Slovakia, Colombia, Far East, Germany, Slovenia, Nigeria, Serbia, Belgium, Slovakia, France, Senegal, Macedonia, Italy, Sofia, Colombia, US, Washington, D.C., Germany again, Estonia, Ukraine, Almaty, Kazakhstan, Yamal, it's Russia, I guess, Canada,
Самара, Вьетнама очень много, Филадельфия, Минск, Беларусь.
Minsk, Belarus, Germany. So Germany is being quite active. India, Poland. So indeed, it's an international platform, international community, and Ecuador, Spain, and as we state always during our meetings and in our reports, the string transportation technology has been supported by people from all countries and territories. Argentina, Bolivia, Mexico, Austria. Great, great friends. Okay, so let's try again. See if everything is fine. If Dr. Unitsky, let's check it again. So at first it was a little bit bumpy, but then we could hear and see you, but then something went wrong. Friends, let's use likes and smiley faces to support, because I'm sure our joint energy will boost the connectivity and help us address all the technical issues. Okay, yes, it worked. You see, now we can see Dr. Unitsky. So the support did work, Dr. Unitsky, from our investors, even using virtual emotions. So it's the synergetic effect. Yes, exactly. So Dr. Unitsky, please accept our sincere welcome. I'm very happy to see you healthy and sound. And despite today being a day off, you are still here with us at your workplace. So welcome on behalf of all our partners who are writing welcoming words in the chat right now. And greetings. Well, hello, everyone. Dr. Unitsky, it's supposed to be an interview. You ask questions, I answer. Yes, exactly, because we already had quite a lot of meetings this year, 2026, and it was always like a Q&A or an interview. And we also had quite a lot of online meetings, and we're all focusing on the fact that currently we're not revising our strategy, but we're bringing our business to sustainable growth. So everything is being done to ensure sustainable growth. So, and in view of that, we would like to have some on-point conversation at where we are at, what kind of projects are already in the pipeline, and what it means for all of us investors into the UST technology. Okay, Maksym, you put it right that we're not talking about changing our strategy. It's about the transition of the engineering system to a completely new state. Well, any complex engineering system, especially a sector-shaping system such as ours, goes through 4 stages: idea, then testing, reproducibility, and scaling. We've completely successfully gone through the first 3 stages, and now we are entering the 4th one, the most difficult stage. This is the stage where the UST complexes must prove that they can work not just on a one-off basis, but on an industrial scale. And this is precisely what all the changes are currently being designed for. I'm talking about organizational, financial, and technological changes. Dr. Unitsky, in this case, let's make it more precise. Can you please tell us What kind of projects are currently in active development in the pipeline? Well, today, it's very important to understand one crucial thing. We've moved beyond this state where we have only technology. We have a whole portfolio of projects, and this is very crucial. First, we have a Unilight complex up and running. This is our firstborn child. We've been operating for 2 years now. We've already transported tens of thousands of passengers, confirming its reliability, viability, and safety. We've collected a wealth of feedback, both technical and from the users. What kind of comfort it offers, again, safety considerations, impressions from taking a trip at the bird's flight height. And now we can see it in practical terms and not in theory. We see how better our transport is compared to other means of transportation and how energy efficient our complexes are, how they're more energy efficient than Tesla, for example. And this is not just testing, it's actual commercial operation that gave us proofs and corroborated our theoretical research, because practice is more important than theory. And second, the commercial project under construction at the Sosny resort. This is a truly prestigious project implemented in close collaboration with the government agencies. I'm talking about presidential office. Thirdly, projects in Russia. We are working across several regions simultaneously. We have more than 10 such regions, and we expect significant progress in some of the regions in the near future, which we'll inform you about immediately. I don't think we have to go through them. It's Rostov-on-Don, Petersburg, Khabarovsk, Vladivostok, Crimea, Smolensk, and Nizhny Novgorod. Well, and a number of other regions where we are at different stages of implementation of the project. Well, there are different milestones in the implementation of any project. Fourthly, we have Kazakhstan, its Almaty region. A feasibility study has been completed there, and the parameters have been calculated for the intercity infrastructural complex. And the next step is up to the region itself, Kazakhstan. But we believe we have a very solid chance. And the project is interesting because it can be implemented with minimum budgetary impact because of project-based economics. It's a public-private partnership format where, in addition to governmental budget, we have also private capital. And finally, fifth, when it comes to international projects, it's important to set the principles, the priorities right. We have already moved beyond the stage where we're simply talking about the geography of interest. Today, the geography of the real market is taking shape, and this is a fundamentally different situation. Currently, we're actively developing projects in the Middle East, Asia, and Latin America. These are the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, India, Nepal, Malaysia, Cambodia, and Taiwan. It's important to understand that these aren't just requests or negotiations. We're talking about various stages of development, from conceptual development to projects with governmental support. In the Middle East, for example, undoubtedly, the United Arab Emirates plays a key role. In Dubai, for example, a project stretching approximately 27 kilometers along the coastal zone is being considered. Of course, there is a major geopolitical turbulence there. Hopefully, it won't affect the project. And this isn't just a transportation line. It's an urban element oriented, among other things, towards tourism. We're talking about transportation of tourists to metro, for example, station. And simultaneously, work is underway in other emirates, where public-private partnership models are already being explored. And we have investors for those projects. And most importantly, there is support at the leadership level, at the sheikh level of emirates. And in this case, the United Arab Emirates is not just a market, it's a technology showcase for the entire world. If a solution is implemented there, it automatically gains global credibility. Saudi Arabia is a completely different story. Here, we are talking about projects of a fundamentally different scale. Essentially, we're talking about developing territories from scratch. It was desert. Now we will have a urban space with the elevated transportation. We're creating new urban spaces that forego the traditional automobile model from the onset, from the get-go. And here, our technology fits seamlessly, not as a means of transport, but as the foundation of spatial organization of the entire territory. This is already the level of systemic infrastructure thinking. Asia is perhaps the largest and potentially the most promising market, such as India, Nepal, the countries of Southeast Asia. Those are territories with extremely dense populations, overburdened by transportation systems that are majorly ineffective and have limited budgets. And this is where cost becomes critical. I guess it takes the priority. And our option is cheaper than any other alternative. And this is where our solutions, thanks to ongoing optimization, are beginning to offer a fundamental advantage. And we are working on 24/7. I, being the chief engineer, have been working lately without days off, literally days off. And again, I repeat, this optimization gives us a fundamental advantage. Well, Latin America is still at an earlier stage, but it holds great promise. Such countries as El Salvador and Honduras are demonstrating a high interest in fast and cost-effective solutions. These are markets where it's possible to quickly move from concept to implementation, because the infrastructure deficit there is particularly acute. Well, Dr. Unitsky, truly, this year and all the projects that you've just enumerated, this year can become a breakthrough year for the technology, I see. And the scope of work performed so far and the scope of projects that, or the portfolio of projects that we have, in your opinion, what does this mean for us in the future? I'm talking about the close term, year, 2 or 3 years. What kind of effects you expect? What is the prospects and benefits for us? Well, honestly, it gives several effects at once. First, scaling itself. We are moving from industrial projects, like, writing a letter, submitting a request, just going from door to door. This is a negotiation stage, and sometimes negotiations last dozens of years. So we are moving away from such communication models to a system of implementation, large-scale implementation. Second is trust. Well, usually when there is a new technology, there is distrust. Like, what if the wind blows it out of the water, out of the air? What if the major drop in temperature will undermine the supports, or the corrosion will take its toll, or the safety system will fail? Of course, there is mistrust. And everyone is afraid to become the first, because if something happens, then they will be to blame. They will be the scapegoats. But when projects emerge, doubts disappear, so nobody will doubt it anymore. And thirdly, acceleration of decisions. Today, many potential clients are simply observing us, watching. And some of them have been observing us for 10 years now. And they will place an order as soon as they know that there are no risks left. And each completed project reduces their decision-making time. So as soon as they see the first commercial project implemented, doesn't matter how long the track is, 100 meters or 100 kilometers. They see it works, and then they will make the decision that they've been preparing for. And fourthly, it's a chain reaction effect. One project launches the next project. Not because we ask it to happen, but because the market begins to respond, and it will be like a snowball effect. I realize not everyone has snow, so probably the metaphor doesn't work for everyone, but it starts from a small ball, and then it rolls down the mountain, and then it becomes bigger and bigger and turns into an avalanche. So, and I'm sure that chain reaction effect will happen very soon. Well, Dr. Unitsky, let's go back to that chain reaction effect. When we pick up momentum, then momentum will carry the technology, right? So what if we look further over a multi-year horizon? What will happen, in your opinion, in the next 3-5 years? We're talking about a longer horizon. Well, I would speak about 2-year horizon here. Like I'd say 2026, 2027. We will have major events happening, in my opinion. Our projects will turn into businesses, which means we will have repeatable solutions emerging. We will have a flow of orders. There will be a whole line of customers because we won't be able to accept a lot of orders at once, because in this case we'll have to expand our personnel, and it takes money, of course, for the operation of the company. Otherwise, we won't be able to pay salaries to our enlarged staff. And also we will have, like, again, a line of customers, and then we'll have to put the clients in queue. And then we'll have a stable revenue coming, because we will be taking under development projects with good revenue, actual money. And this will directly be related to the IPO, because an IPO is not just an idea. An IPO is a scalable business with a proven financial model. And this is exactly what is being created right now. And at the same time, Dr. Unitsky, you're saying that currently, in addition to the commercialization, engineering, serious engineering work is underway, right, in parallel? Yes, indeed, Maksym. I, as an engineer, have been working on this technology for almost 50 years, non-stop. And I would like to go back to my first concepts and ideas many dozens of years ago, and I realized how naive they were. Because the reality check happens, right, sooner or later. And then you realize that some of the ideas might not be implementable, or some ideas might be improven, because the original idea and the actual implemented project might be very different. Well, Elon Musk mentions the idea of a human flight to Mars. I think it's a silly idea. Why do we need to go to Mars? But a lot of people did a big PR campaign out of Mars colonization, like it's the future of the planet. So if you're talking about the future of another planet, does it mean that we first destroy our own planet and then we fly to Mars? A one-way trip that would cost like $1 billion? With no oxygen to breathe, with no food to eat, with no houses, with no anything. So that's an idea. Idea is nothing, it's empty air, but try to implement that idea. So once string transport was an idea, but it's no longer an idea. It's a serious engineering product, a most complex product. It's a sector-shaping technology. It's not like something like Ford's automobile. Ford did not create an entire sector. He did not design roads. He did not build oil processing plants or gas filling stations. Others did it. And our technology is more complex than Boeing. And Boeing was, he came from the lumber business. I think he did carpentry. And then he went into airplanes, and he realized that aluminum is better material for planes than wood. And that's how the metal airplanes happened. So Boeing created aviation, but he only designed planes. He did not design airports, right? Or landing strips. He did not did oil processing to produce kerosene for airplane engines, right? No, they didn't do that. So not a lot of people actually created industries. Siemens, for example, that maglev train, I'd say it might be called a sector-shaping technology, but they failed because they underestimated the engineering complexity, and the system failed, and 13 tourists perished. And then they closed it down. The project was folded, and they cut off their losses, right? 50 years of work and billions of dollars of costs because engineers made a mistake that couldn't be corrected. And understanding that, we working on optimization and improvement of all the elements of the UST complex. We're talking about rail, automobiles, overpasses, second level infrastructure, automated control system, a very complex system. It's electric drive system, another very complex thing, especially in railroads. It's the switching of tracks. And last month, I, as the chief designer, submitted dozens, even hundreds of improvements for several units and systems. So we are continuously improving our systems, and tests for us is the basis for our improvements, and we are running tests all the time. Because people will first of all see not the advantages and benefits, but they will see failures first, disadvantages, shortcomings, small, even if they're defects, even if they're small. And we're working continuously on addressing all of that in order to go to scaling with an optimized system. So basically, we are reassembling the system from scratch. It's a sector-shaping transportation technology, infrastructure technology, and our task is to make transportation not just efficient, but also as accessible and eco-friendly and safe as possible. What does this mean? Simplification of design. We're talking about string track infrastructure, then the anchor supports and support units. If you compare it to your beam overpasses used in railroads, for example, in Taiwan, Japanese built a railroad, high-speed railroad. Well, it's kind of high-speed, yes, it's 300 kilometers per hour. So their track structure, it's metal beams or reinforced concrete beams with supports experiencing a lot of stress. We're talking about hundreds of tons per meter, and our material consumption is 100 times less compared to them. And yes, they're using reinforced concrete, and they're using the high strength steel, right? We're doing it as well, but we at way less spending. And some things, they have to use cranes to lift things. And since our material is lighter, we can use manual labor if we want to. So still, we're optimizing the process. Also, I'm talking about use of cheap materials, but cheap yet quality materials. First, we wanted to do something that hasn't been done before, right? So we had to order things that the industry didn't produce. And this made the whole process more expensive. For example, if an element was made of aluminum, and that element is not mass produced, so you have to make place an individual order for it, right? And then our order doesn't require a lot of components. And in this case, that component might cost dozens of thousands of dollars per ton. And but if we take an element that is already produced, mass produced, like a corner element or shaped figure, then the price will be way lower. So we are now moving from unique components, one-of-a-kind components, to mass-produced components. But we used them in the past because we had no alternative. But now we're replacing those unique components with mass-produced, domestically produced components in order to ensure 100% import replacement, so we don't depend on other countries. And we are successfully doing that. At the same time, we are also simplifying the installation. Yes, we have all those solutions already in place. And when we scale up our projects, we will be implementing those solutions that simplify and cheapify or make less expensive the whole system. Because a lot of people underestimate the fact that the cost of a system is not determined by the cost of materials, by the cost of technology, because you can buy materials for $1,000 per ton, but then you will have to drill a hole somewhere or cut a thread or round some corners or weld stuff and so on. And then you mount it all up using complex technology, machinery. And then a thing that cost originally $1,000 at the end might cost $10,000. So it's not only the cost of materials, but the cost of installation as well. And technology accounts for the better part of the cost. And that's what we're working on, improving on. And we are moving to groundless installation. So we do not interfere with the environment and we don't have to build access roads. What if it's marshes, wetlands? What if we have to cross a river or a lake? Of course, we shouldn't be moving on the earth, but should be working in the air. And also, we are minimizing wastes, production waste, obviously. Because if we purchase a sheet of metal for $1,000 per ton, and then we cut an element out of that sheet of metal, then half of the metal will be wasted if you do not do it properly. Shavings, for example, metal shavings. But metal shavings are also part of the cost of the complete metal sheet. So we have to minimize those costs and those wastes. So we are removing everything that is not necessary. We're like sculptures. We are carving off things that are not necessary, and out of a solid piece of rock, you get a piece of art. And this is producing results. And the cost of our solutions should be lower than even the cheapest traditional tram lines or cable cars. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Unitsky, for such an extensive answer. Indeed, we are seeing in the sheer scope of work that you did on optimizing your own solutions that previously have already been created, and now you're improving on them. And this way, the UST technology is becoming even more competitive, gains competitive edges compared to other existing technologies. This is a great thing. Dr. Unitsky, you've made a lot of headway over the last 10 years when the technology was being brought into reality, and in parallel with your team, you were working on the commercialization. And what we're seeing right now, there are a lot of projects in the pipeline. And this year, based on your experience and based on your extraordinarity, out-of-the-box thinking, because, well, everything you do is kind of out of the box for many people. And also, you made a very important business decision that is a kind of a key turning point in how the projects are implemented. It's a new logic in project implementation. Let's talk about this, because we heard from you that the model that we've been following towards the commercialization of UST is less effective than the current model that you're implementing right now. So let's talk about this major change in the company's course that you are implementing right now. Sorry, can you hear me? Yes. Yeah, we've missed the first part of it because your microphone was off. Yeah, okay. I wanted to clarify the previous point that I mentioned about the improvements, because sometimes when you're using general terms, it's not always clear. Sometimes you have to make comparisons. Remember about the mobile connection. I remember in early 90s, we've been literally walking with 10-kilogram suitcases, right, with a huge earpiece, and we were very happy. We had mobile telephone, and then mobile connection got better, and we got our button phones. It was a major step forward. Remember, you didn't have to carry a whole suitcase with you. You could put that mobile phone in your pocket, but that was not it. And then iPhone came along when you had just to use your thumb, and then you could add a camera there and a microphone and a computer, and it's a GPS navigator. It's everything, and it's all in your phone. But just take a look at the progress, and every system goes through those same stages. It doesn't mean that you have to reduce the size of the suitcase. No, you just revise the whole thing and look out for new opportunities. And that's what we are doing as well. And believe me, a lot of our solutions are very much different from what we're having right now. And this is good. This is correct. We're moving forward. And with less money, we will be selling more quality products, more reliable, more safe, more effective. And of course, it will be more welcomed by our customers. So yes, our logic of project implementation has been changed. Previously, projects were viewed as individual transportation solutions. A road there, a track there, a track there, but we're building more than just a track. Today, we're moving to a different model, a project-based model, where a project is not just transportation. A project is a whole infrastructure system. Go back to the 19th century. In the US, they started building railroads, not just railroad tracks, because for that, you need industry to produce rails, to produce ties, to produce gravel, etc. And then you need to also maintenance stations and stuff. And then territories changed. So it was not just a transportation-based project. It was territory development. It's population migration, jobs, etc. And that's what we are seeing right now, and that's what we're incorporating into our model when we're suggesting a project as a whole infrastructural system and not just a transportation solution. So what does it mean? What does it include? First of all, it's transportation. Second of all, it's territorial development. Next, industry. Next, power engineering. Next, it's logistics. And obviously, accommodation of people, or better, residence, living of people, urbanism. And it's a unified complex within the logic on infrastructural corridor, transportational corridor. Completely different logic. So we are passing on to a new level of collaboration with our partners. And Dr. Unitsky, this is precisely why corporations of infrastructural development are being created that you mentioned before, right? Yes, exactly. I've been thinking about it for quite some time, but I came to it quite recently when a crisis happened, and I realized that we are on the verge of collapse, on the verge of disappearance of the technology of the entire group of companies. And back then, I made an address to our investors. Our investors heard me, supported me, us, and helped us create a financial safety net. And I realized that we cannot live from crisis to crisis. We need a different logic. And that whole story of the appearance of industries, sectors like railroads or automobile manufacturing, oil processing is also about car building. Oil chemistry, obtaining or producing fuel or rubber for tires and polymers, is being done for automobiles. Or take aviation. We're not talking about just concrete in the middle of nowhere, like a airport Dubai. It's a hub, it's a major transportation hub, and not just concrete in the middle of nowhere. And then everything appeared around that hub, around the aviation industry, not around planes, because there are a lot of different airplane models there. We're talking about a major airport, and around 100 million people are flying in and out every year, which facilitates business, right? And I had this understanding that yes, it's time we stopped begging or convincing customers that our project is good. No, let's offer ready solutions. Let's create a group of companies, or the group of companies should create a corporation, and the corporation will be implementing projects without listening to everyone or waiting for permission. We'll just inform them about the project being ready. Like in the road building in the United States, nobody asked anything. There was a desert, wasteland, and then they put a road. And along that road, cities, plants appeared. And we'll do the same. Of course, we're not going to do it in like a spherical vacuum. We'll be offering to the local government first. And I gave quite a lot of examples in the past. And I can give you an example right now. Say Vietnam, that really needs a high-speed track, Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, and not just a track, but as a corridor where people will live, where agriculture will be implemented with their own power engineering, where there will be communication. Because we can place mobile towers on our supports, and we can even include the fiber optic cables in our tracks, and we don't have to launch satellites, because satellites sooner or later fall. They're not rotating there in orbit forever. It's all part of the complex. But you cannot explain it in simple terms to the government, because the government is always looking at what is available on the market. And what is available on the market? Chinese railroads, Japanese railroads, and they go into them. And they're already considering a high-speed railroad. I'm talking about the track only, without the infrastructure, like in Taiwan. The cost will be $60–70 billion for this high-speed railroad between Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. And we can build it at 10–15 billion, 50 billion, 15 billion, 50 billion savings. Without putting any stress on the government, we can build also a linear cities, because people will be buying houses themselves. So the government doesn't have to use governmental spending. The local population will finance it themselves, the entire infrastructure. But for that, we need to create a feasibility study, a business plan, and describe it. You cannot show it on the fingers, right? You just need to prove them why it costs this much and not that much. You show them the design of the track infrastructure, supports, anchors, infrastructure. You show them what kind of rolling stock is going to be used. Give a description, the design, the characteristics, the fuel consumption or electrical energy consumption. Show that they are environmentally friendly, safe. Estimate the passenger flow, which is not easy, because a lot of people use the existing passenger capacity or passenger flow or consumption. For example, when mobile connection first appeared, developers, they based their calculations on the landlines, on the number of landline users, and they thought only 500 mobile phones will be the demand per year. They have only a billion. Right now, they have a billion iPhones only. That was a major miscalculation because it was a new market being shaped, and we're shaping a new market as well. A completely different market. It's not a railroad or automobile market. Our transport is going to be faster, cheaper, more safe, environmentally safe. So we need to take this into consideration as well. We need to consider the cost of transportation, the cost of tickets, and see what are the revenues are going to be to show the profitability and to show the territorial development. What a linear city is going to give for the development of the country. To address a lot of problems, agriculture, demographic problems, safety, like food safety or energy safety. For example, in Dubai, those problems haven't been addressed. And now missile strikes are happening, the logistics are down, and all of the food is imported, and it's not imported anymore. But you need to produce food close by and not somewhere else. And food should be organic and not chemical-based. And we can implement everything in just one location. We're working on it. It's very difficult work. You need to understand that you cannot do it at a snap of fingers. But very soon we're going to announce it. And that corporation can go to any other country, including Vietnam, and not just say, give us money or place an order. Mission is different. We're going to do it for your country. We want to do it for your country. Please don't be in our way. And if you can help us, not with money, we will find money. And eventually we will launch the local IPO. So we're not just creating roads and transportation lines, we're creating entire economic systems within the logic of the infrastructural logistical corridor. And this process has already begun. Initial negotiations have been held. We've received interest from authorities, from the government, not individual regions. Territories are being selected. So we are on the lookout for land for the implementation of different stages of the project. And also a legal framework is being formed, which is difficult too, because the corporation should be set up in such a way as to get listed very fast and start raising money not through crowd investing, because crowd investing doesn't work with big projects, but from the stock market. So money investments and then start selling shares and not pre-IPO shares. It's very similar to an IPO. And then the law of any country allows to do that very fast, because what I'm creating here is not an empty company. It didn't start from scratch. Corporations are set up, the companies have been in the market for dozens of years, successful markets. That's why corporations have a material part, like assets that have been created using the UST technology in Belarus and the United Arab Emirates. There is an intellectual asset to it, including the evaluation of patents in the licenses, research papers, R&D. We have quite a lot of that as well. So corporations will have all of that, and not just like Hyperloop that came out of nowhere, like let's do that, and there was nothing behind it. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And there was no past, no background to it, because we are building future on the foundation of the past, right? And in 10 years, they raised around $2 billion, and they went bankrupt, didn't deliver, and they couldn't deliver. And my story, my background as a inventor, creator behind it, have more than 50 years of research and work, intense work, serious, solid work. A lot of money was invested into it. Millions of man hours. This is quite a lot of work. And we have that basis, that foundation. So we are not just creating a set of projects. We are creating engineering systems. It's financial engineering system, And we can roughly distinguish two levels. The first are the relatively compact projects like Unilight, Sosny resort project. They are small, urban tourist pilot projects. They will allow us to showcase the scalability and industrial serial production of projects. And that's the scaling effect that I was talking about. So the goal is rapid implementation, demonstration of effectiveness, and building trust in technology. And the second level is infrastructure corridors and integrated territorial development using corporations, first of all, that we're creating right now, and we will be moving in that direction. And these are projects where transport becomes part of the economy in the region, in the country, along with residential development, logistics, power engineering, and industry. And when we come, we say, we want to give you as a country something without asking nothing in return, just your support. So nobody will object, nobody will be arguing with us, and we're not competing with anyone. Even that project in Vietnam and railroads, probably the government will have to decide whether to go for a $50 billion Chinese project or $70 billion investment in Chinese or Japanese railroad. Then they will have to pay back if they take a loan. Or another option that does not ask for money, they're saying we will save the country $50 billion. So who do you think the government will support? Of course, the second, better option. And today we're talking not about a project appearing somewhere like we did before. We're saying that the technology is entering several types of market at the same time with different logics and different speeds. And individually, without waiting for orders that we've been waiting for years and dozens of years. And in some places, our technology can become a showcase. In other territories, it's going to be a tool for territorial development. And somewhere, it's going to be a mass solution for cities. And that's the key point here. And each new region is not just another project. It's a new growth point for the entire system. And it is because of that, through that the scale is formed, which will subsequently determine both the capitalization and the stability of the entire group of companies, GTI. Dr. Unitsky, thank you very much. Very, very precise, on-point answer to this question. And I'm sure many of our investors who are present right now here, I see based on their reactions, we have 1,400 people here, are very inspired right now. And colleagues, investors, I'm addressing myself to you. I hope you can see the kind of prospects that are in front of us starting this year, because basically Dr. Unitsky took control over the commercialization of the technology, because creating corporations is that autonomous path towards making sure that the UST technology and everything that Dr. Unitsky is implementing as a complex can yield that synergy effect. Dmitry, let's enable the chat and ask our investors to give us some feedback regarding what they heard so far. Colleagues, I would like to see your reactions. Whether you like what you heard and whether you like the prospects in the short term. So let's test it, Dr. Unitsky. I forgot to mention about the ultra-high speed transportation. Yes, we will go back to that. But I would like to hear some feedback to the high speed as well. Well, we'll do that. We'll do that stage by stage. I see already people writing in different languages. Well, unfortunately, I don't understand all of it, but most of it I do. All of it comes down to being positive. Partners are saying UST is already a viable brand. Some people are saying wonderful, amazing, fantastic. Well, Dr. Unitsky, hundreds of comments, positive feedback. And it's like someone says it's bombastic news. And Thank you very much, dear investors, for your feedback. Of course, we as investors are very much interested in the high-speed or ultra-high-speed project because it's a major component in the UST technology. So, Dr. Unitsky, that will be a separate question. What's happening right now with ultra or high-speed transportation? What stage we are at? Because that's what investors are asking about very often. Well, we are all interested in hearing the answer. Well, I guess I have to give you more details, right, about it. Yes, would be very glad to hear it. For you to have better understanding, right? Yes, well, that whole project is, first of all, about receiving payouts, right? And sharing in the profits. Because if you do not participate in the technology, you do not participate in the profit sharing, right? If the project hasn't been implemented, you don't get anything. So the old logic, when we raised, well, the platform raised money for the technology, to create the technology, we had to use the residual principle. We were in the constant lack of funding. And if we spend that money on everything at once, we wouldn't be able to implement anything at all. And the most expensive project, the high-speed transportation, had to use the money that was left after the implementation of urban and cargo transportation solutions. You see, right? And that's a fact. The high-speed transportation had to deal with leftovers. And we financed like 1% of the entire money needed for high-speed transportation, unfortunately. Because it's not about patent or aerodynamics. And by the way, I did it on my own even before my working with investors. I did it last century. It's my intellectual property that wasn't created using investors' money. But in order to showcase the entire technology, you need to build a test track. We're talking about around 30 kilometers of track to obtain the necessary speed and to make sure that the train moves at that speed and not just build it and then find out that you cannot use it. So the cars need, U-Pods need to achieve that speed, because Hyperloop first used small speeds but never came down to actual speeds, high speeds, because that part alone cost like 230, 300 million. We didn't have that money. So why people would complain that they are not 100% co-owners of high-speed transportation. Only 1% was funded, and now they have a 5% stake in it, so there shouldn't be any complaints. So it's important to be not in the specific technology, but be part of the project, because the project that will yield revenues, and then you can share in the profits, and that's where you will get your returns on your investments. So now we're using the corporation logics, and we have shifted the focus there. We've shifted focus from technology to project. And now the group of companies is creating corporations of infrastructural development of entire territories or even countries, where the key founder will be UST Incorporated, because without the engineering team, we won't be able to implement a single project. So this is our main achievement, not the metal concrete stations, U-Pods like the one behind me. It's important who designed it, who produced it, who knows how to improve on that car. And that car is coming from the past. We should not be living in the past. This is an engineering school. We're talking about design, scientific work. We are talking about 60 design bureaus here. It's UST Incorporated. And who owns UST Incorporated? Investors through GTI. And production, SW plant. Who owns the plant? UST Incorporated. And who owns UST Incorporated? Investors So investors have a stake in all of those, in those two key companies that will play a key role in this creation of the corporations. And at least 25% stake will be owned by investors in those projects, not technologies. And it will all be about around high-speed transportation. So it doesn't matter how much investors invested, 1%, 2%, 20%, or 100%. What matters is they will be part of the corporation and they will have a 25% stake in those corporations and not 1%. And those 25% will allow to make money at the design stage, at the stage of construction, at the stage of operation. Whereas technology, if you own the technology, will not allow you to make money at all those stages because the project might be implemented by someone else. And then someone else will be building it. Someone else will be operating it and making money from it. So the logic shifted here towards investors, towards the benefits for investors. And that's what I want the investors to hear. And not just they funded 1%. So invest is no fault of investors. That's how the fundraising platform worked, because the platforms took too much money for their marketing services, and we received like half of it only. But it's in the past. We're going to change it for the better. So our position here hasn't changed towards investors. We are making it better, reinforcing. So all of the previously adopted decisions remain as well. And investors now will have a stake in the company that will develop also the high-speed sector as well. And then a new one is added. High-speed complexes right now considered as part of the infrastructural projects. So those corridors will be also growing not only vertically, but also horizontally, right? Because there will be agriculture around it developed. Cities will be rising up. And agriculture, by the way, will be using my inventions as well, like Uterra. Uterra showed great results in Vietnam. A whole garden was dying there, and then when started using Uterra there, the garden, the orchard, was revived and yielded a huge harvest. And in all of it, our investors will participate as well, because the key founder will be UST incorporated there. So what does it mean for the investors? Well, also, investors will participate in the infrastructural logistical corridors in many countries. And we will be choosing what country to go to and not wait for those countries to call for us. So they will participate in the economy of all those projects, not tracks, but infrastructural logistical projects. And they will have a real operating model that will allow them to make money at all the stages of the project implementation, from design to operation to construction operation. So this is a completely different story here. And most importantly, investors are given the opportunity in this logic to participate not only in the technology, or just one technology, but also in the projects themselves. So Dr. Unitsky, essentially, the logic of funding is changing, correct? Well, yes, not only funding, but project implementation as well. Management of projects, obtaining of orders, placement of orders. Before, we were in the position of beggars, and nobody enjoys being begged things, right? Especially if it's a budget thing. Budgets have already been allocated for many years ahead, and then a company comes and says, give us money for construction. And they will find excuses how to delay that. And they say, there is no money this year, let's wait. Here, the logic has changed. We're not coming to a country asking for things. We're coming to a country to give them things. Not a technology, but a project. I'm repeating it. A project, for example, in Vietnam. It's a project for a corridor between Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, 1,600 kilometers long, where people can live, work, rest, give birth, go to school, and so on. We're talking about millions or dozens of millions of Vietnamese people. That's what we want to give to the country. And we're not asking for budgetary funds. They already have budgetary problems. We would like to raise money from the market, from the stock market of Vietnam. And even simple calculations show if every Vietnamese person invests per year $100, we will be able to implement that project. $100 per year is quite affordable for an average Vietnamese person. Someone might invest $1,000, others $100,000. So let's rely on our own forces and not external ones. And that community of investors will also participate in that, not as investors, but also as customers. Because the corporation that we're going to have in the corporation will be created by investors. And investors will also become customers for the project as well. And they will be benefiting from that project. And naturally, the entire country will prosper from this, the region, the economy, the industry, power engineering, and many other sectors, even agriculture. I hope it's clear. And we're moving away from the model of expecting for external investors, like please come. And we're coming to a model of creating our own investment architecture. But it's important that it is not a replacement for classic models. It's strengthening of them. It's like a synergy where one adds to the other. Yes, when one element amplifies the effect, and it will eventually do that. And we will work with states, private investors, development institutions. And at the same time, we're adding a tool that will allow us to speed up all processes and allow us to control. One thing is when you're ordering, and then the customer is delaying stuff, and doesn't have money. Imagine you don't have to deal with all those delays. You already come with a ready solution and already money raised. No need for approvals. And why, for example, we succeeded in Belarus? Because I tried in different countries. So what I did differently, I stopped asking, I stopped begging. Well, those who did notice me, they poured dirt all over me. And then I started doing it on my own, and people decided to leave me alone. And once we implemented it, we showcased it. And of course, governments like that when the company does everything on its own without asking for money. So yes, that's the shift in the model, that we are not asking, we are giving. And that's done through corporations. Yes, Maksym, anything else? Thank you very much, Dr. Unitsky. Indeed, the model that you are using right now and gave us a better outline of it with all the nuances and subtleties, that model indeed can and will strengthen the process of capitalization and commercialization, first of all, of our project, technology that we're doing here. Dr. Unitsky, let's talk about prospects, results, and we do have them, right? And of course, our investors would like to know the answer to the main question they are always asking: when we will see results, both financial and tangible results in terms of the commercialization of the technology for specific projects, well, and in general. When can we see the results or expect the results? Well, I understand the expectations. I'm an investor myself. I'm also waiting as an investor for the results. But I understand all the nuances, all the complexities and problems that appear because I'm inside of it in that process. So but we need to be honest here. The result appears not from the expectations, but from the actual result, from the actual work, right? Because you can say like sweet, sweet, sweet any times you want, but salt will not become sweet, right? You have to work on it, and or any thing will not become sweet, right? So our results don't come from expectations. They come from systematic work. And it's important to understand that we need to emphasize here one key point. Corporations will speed up the implementation of large-scale projects. If you decide to wait, then probably we'll have to wait for 10, 20, 30 years more. But when we take the position of being proactive actors, then it will come way sooner. And this is what we're doing. We're creating projects, optimizing technology. I mentioned that before, and we're doing it all the time. And we're doing it while the technology is live, and the transport infrastructure and technologies live for 200, 300 years. Let's go back to the first trains and cars appearing. Well, the first cars were steam engine cars. They appeared even before trains. So UST has at least 200 years of development ahead of us, and we need to be optimizing that technology for those 200 years. What's happening right now in cars, aviation too, and trains. And also we are providing financing ourselves and not waiting for anyone to do that for us. Nobody will do it except us. And this is the key prerequisite for revenues. Revenues cannot just appear out of thin air. You need to work on making revenues unavoidable, inevitable. Well, Dr. Unitsky, in the end, I would like to hear your vision of the prospects of payouts and capitalization of the technology, how you see that, and what kind of expectations we might have in terms of the potential payouts and remuneration, capitalization, and what is the grounds for that. I'm not going to make a mistake of telling you the exact date. Only Lord Almighty knows the exact date. I can tell you about the trends based on what's happening right now. And everything we're doing is aimed at this exact goal, to make sure that payouts happen as soon as possible. Every completed project, even a small one, brings the start of payments closer, not because it yields a lot of profits, no, because it might be a stepping stone towards bigger contracts and bigger payouts. Or we start implementing a project ourselves, like the project Hanoi Ho Chi Minh. So if we do not showcase the viability of first projects in other countries, big clients will not believe us. But we tell them, look, it works. We didn't make a mistake. Why do you think we will make a mistake in this case? No, we will not, and it will work. And we will go through that same path, because we have experience. We own the technology. We know everything else. And we know that technology better than anyone in the world, in that particular area, the string transportation technology. And what's happening right now is inevitably drawing us closer to the time when we'll start receiving serious profits and start paying remuneration. And I think it might happen even this year, but I cannot give you the exact date. I will not, because it all depends on whether we will create the big enough safety net for us to come to Vietnam and to create a feasibility study, which costs around $10 million. Because you go to the government not with an idea, but with a viable project based on feasibility study and the business plan. So we will be doing it using our own money. But also, it's included in the cost of the project. It's a considerable share in the project. And then with that, we go to the market and start raising big money. And that big money, if we're talking about such a big project, we're talking about like $1 billion spent on design and research. And UST Incorporated will be doing the design and survey, right? And who owns UST Incorporated? GTI. And who owns GTI? Investors. So investors will be sharing in the profits from design and survey. It will happen. If it happens, it's good. If it doesn't happen, well, there will be no profit sharing. So it doesn't depend only on me. I'm setting the course. I'm giving the impetus, or I'm giving the boost, but I'm just one of many. And it's not a one-man army, right? As they say. So I'm not a one-man army here. We have an entire community of investors. There is a fundraising platform too. That is the support, investment support for us to go through those first stages of those projects. So we can go for capitalization, create capitalization commensurate with the technology's potential. And the potential is huge because it's an entire sector. And I gave quite a lot of proofs in the past. And I can tell you right now that this is not just a transportation sector, it's infrastructural logistical sector. That includes not only transportation, but everything else: power engineering, logistics, communication, agriculture, and transportation too, of course. And it's a hundreds of trillions of dollars. That's the potential of that market. And on what kind of share of that market we're going to take, and what kind of share we can pretend to claim, or what kind of profits we're going to generate from it, it doesn't depend on me. I did my bit. I'm the chief engineer. I'm the chief designer. I did it. And then it doesn't depend on me only how it goes further. It also depends on our investors, current investors and future investors, on how the corporation will work, who is going to be managed by in the specific country, where the management, local management, is going to be effective or not. There are quite a lot of factors. So yes, the time of waiting is getting shorter and shorter. It's going to happen soon, but how soon depends on all of us. So we're now coming to a very important but not conclusive stage, the stage of updating the technology, scaling, and going to the global market. And not just in one country, but across the world. So, Dr. Unitsky, thank you very much. And on behalf of all the investors and as a head of the crowd investing platform, RSW Systems, and marketing company, Micron Global, I would like to emphasize the very important role of us as investors in that whole scaling efforts. And I would like to address myself to investors, dear partners, colleagues, friends, and like-minded people. The stage that we've just reached, as mentioned by Dr. Unitsky, its success will depend on, to a big degree, on us, because the program, the current program, the funding optimization program, is aimed at scaling, first of all, and commercialization of the technology UST. And as we can see, this is going to reflect on the creation of the Infrastructural Development Corporation. And a lot of it depends on us, as I said, because that path that we've chosen can indeed speed up the capitalization that we're expecting, waiting for. But we can play a key role in it, as we did back in 2014, when the technology was just being created. And now we can play a crucial role in the scaling of the technology. Dr. Unitsky wanted to add something here. Yeah, I wanted to say one main thing. We've come a long way with our investors, a long and difficult journey. We've created a sector shaping technology. We have it. And today, we and not anyone else are creating the market. And these are fundamentally different tasks, creating technology or creating an entire market. And we are in a time of growth, intensive growth, and this growth has already begun. And the success, first of all, will be about profit sharing, and that is inevitable in the near future. And this is my firm belief. This is inevitable, and it's going to happen very soon. Thank you very much, Dr. Unitsky. Let me say, let it be so. Let it happen, and we as the crowd investing community will support you in your endeavors. And right now, on behalf of our entire community, on behalf of our all investors, tell you, thank you very much for spending like 90 minutes with us live on Sunday and giving us the understanding of what kind of results we have so far and what is in store for us this year and probably in the next couple of months. Thank you very much, Dr. Unitsky, and see you next time. We're going to have a meeting very, very soon. Thank you. Thank you, and all the best. Goodbye. Thank you, Dr. Unitsky. So, dear colleagues, I would like to thank you all for your active participation in today's meeting. I would like to remind you that within the optimization of the funding of the GTI group of companies on RSW Systems platform, we still have a running promotional offer until the 25th of March. You can still purchase special packages that we have there with 700 plus discounts. Let me also remind you, dear colleagues, that all of the investors who purchased investment packages in January and February, and even in March, those who paid for their packages early, you now can make a repeat purchase on the same unique discounts that will not be repeated ever again, such a historically high discounts. Also, we are waiting for our next traditional meeting on Thursday, where we are going to meet on the 26th of March, and I'm going to answer most of your questions that you are going to have. Starting Monday, we will launch a feedback form for you to fill in to ask your questions, and that I will use that form to get ready for your answers and then have a productive meeting with you on Thursday. And also I wanted to remind you that many of our partners who are in different countries have the opportunity to submit their application for the teleconference participation on the 5th of April, which is the launch of sales on the marketing platform Micron Global. So our leaders, our investors, will be able to participate in that event in the teleconference format. So friends, we have quite a lot of work ahead of us, active work. We're getting ready for the launch of the sales on the platform, and let's spend that time by putting in some effort, some active work, and let's use synergy, as Dr. Unitsky put it today, and let that synergy produce good results for March and also lay the grounds for active work in April. So colleagues, thank you again. I would like to wish you a wonderful Sunday evening, if it's already coming close to the evening, or afternoon, if it's afternoon. And of course, if you are in the Western Hemisphere, friends, have a nice morning and see you next time. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye. And friends, we love you, we appreciate you, and we're waiting for your active work that is already ongoing and that is ahead of us. It's going to be even more active, I'm sure. Bye-bye, everyone, and until we meet again.
lights begin. The code runs clean. Machines awake, but nothing's seen. A measured breath, a silent cue. We start again, because we do. Repeat, obey, repeat again. The system speaks, we understand. We can do it, that's enough. We can do it, hard and rough. We can do it, under rule. We can do it, keep it cool. The glass reflects, the wires hum, a sterile faith in what's to come. Hands aligned, no need to feel. Control becomes the new idea. Command received, delay, decline. We leave no trace, we stay confined. We can do it, we comply. We can do it, we don't try. We can do it, in the gray. We can do it, night and day. Motion pure, no cause, no sin. Progress carved in discipline. Silence builds, the world resets. We do what the system expects. We can do it,